Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Full Force Comics news burst this time. I'm Christopher McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80, as you can see there. And we are going to be talking a little bit about what happened today with Hasbro, Skybound, and all that good stuff, including the slightest of render updates, like on the figures we've already seen before. Either way, we have got news to talk about. On top of that, we'll be discussing the stateside arrivals of a couple of figures, which is pretty cool. And before we get into the news, I just wanted to cover the sad news, really, again, that more layoffs have hit Hasbro. 150 have been reported as laid off on all the usual kind of report places, like is it, I can't think of the publishing. I can't think of the place now, but effectively, it's been reported on Wall Street Journal. It was actually that reported on it. So really sad news for a lot of people at Hasbro. To all those affected, and of course that means even people that are still there, who their friends have been let go. It sucks, and continues this awful, awful policy of Hasbro's to just cut jobs all the time. Like, it sucks, doesn't it? In any case, that said, the Yojoe team, the brand team, as we know it, is unaffected in that sense. Still affected, of course, by the fact that, like I said, people, their friends have been laid off and stuff. So which really sucks. In any case, I wanted to obviously talk about that before I went into the other news, but effectively, it's just for those that weren't aware. We have posted those reports, of course, on the socials, so you can read the details of those, obviously, on there. Right then, so let's get into, after we've talked about the sad stuff, let's talk about Yojoe June Week 3 and Skybound. Yes. So, quick kind of overview of what's happened so far this month. It hasn't been without its hiccups, has it? The Yojoe June. First week, fantastic. No notes. We got some cool pre-orders. We had a fan stream. Everything was cool. Got some reveals, some name onlys, some renders. And then stuff like the stuff that was revealed as renders was obviously going to be carrying on into the second week. But that didn't happen. We didn't get the fan stream, and we did, however, get pre-orders. We just there was the mystery of the police, the legacy figure. So that it's not really much of a mystery, is it? But you know what I mean. Anyway, that didn't happen. So I think a lot of people were expecting something else. This was planned, I believe, to be the third week sort of like little update. And it was on a Wednesday, of course, New Comic Book Day. So it tied into the release of G.I. Joe 8. Now, there are spoilers in this one, I'm afraid. So if you don't want to know what's happening in the comics, you haven't read them, if you're not up to date with them, if you aren't reading them but want to read them soon, and you just want to, kind of like avoid any spoilers, then now is the time. We'll be going through them and, of course, talking about any spoilers in the comics as we go forward. So starting now. So in this particular week, we got an Energon Universe recap. Now, Lenny, our good friend Lenny, a friend of all of ours, everyone in the chat and the fandom, he interviewed Josh Williamson for Yojoe June. I'm just getting all of the nice fancy graphics in at the moment, aren't I? He interviewed Josh Williamson, writer on the Skybound Energon universe, and of course G.I. Joe. And he basically talked through with Lenny all of the kind of major plot points, the major kind of talking points throughout the series so far, and especially in the last few kind of issues, we got a little bit more information or a little bit more kind of depth and discussion on some of the things that have been going on so far. So, like I said, spoilers now. I'm just going to start spoiling, so please don't blame me for that. But we started off talking about, I think it was Clutch and Hound. I didn't get a screenshot of that, by the way, but so I'll be starting here at issue 8. And this was a really interesting point. So Clutch and Hound, I'll talk about them quickly first. Clutch has sort of now been introduced to a transformer in Hound, and of course, Hound being a Jeep, Clutch has ended up driving him a lot. So yeah, there was a little bit of discussion on that. Again, if you want to hear the details of that, obviously you can go to that interview, or like I said, if you don't want to necessarily be spoiled a lot, you can quit this completely. But I'm just going to be briefly brushing over a few things here. One of the cool reveals that we got in issue 8, which I have had the pleasure to read in advance, and had to kind of keep a little character introduction to myself. But as you can see, you can probably guess what that character introduction is going to be based on these panels. So the Baroness and CoverGirl, they're in Paris. The Baroness is I don't know how much to believe of the Baroness's story, but she is effectively in Paris on leave from the GI Joe team, because she's on the Joe team. She's not on the what's the word? She's not on the Cobra team yet. Classified Hound and Clutch? Question mark, says Darth Stargazer, or Starth Darth Gazer, which is what I was going to call you then. It's classified Clutch, in Hound being his own military Jeep in this particular situation. Paisana says, I think reading the comics is more exciting than listening to Lenny and the writer talk about the comics. Indeed, indeed. Definitely, it's an amazing comic right now. So in any case, Baroness is in Paris on leave. CoverGirl has gone with her to make sure she doesn't get up to no good, because Duke doesn't trust her effectively at the end of the day. And they're in Paris, and the Baroness is basically, it's revealed that she's there because she is keeping an eye, or she's keep looking, or surveilling, in a real creepy way, her parents, who are like opposite the street that they're on in a different cafe, and they're kind of all loved up and everything. So the Baroness is basically kind of having a little break, and she's kind of been trying to like cut and run from CoverGirl the entire time, and CoverGirl just won't have it. In any case, all these friggin' Falcons come out of nowhere and start attacking them, like not just them, but people around them, Baroness's parents, etc., etc. So they're all kicking off, they're all going crazy, and the next reveal, or the next panel reveal, is the character who has sent these Falcons after them. And yes, it's Raptor, and he is there to effectively tell the Baroness and CoverGirl, who obviously I don't think was supposed to be involved in this, but to tell Baroness that Major Blood wants to see her, or them in this case. The wonderful art, by the way, is from Andrea Milana and Lee Luffridge. Incredible artwork in these issues, by the way. Scott says this stream felt like a pivot. No, it was always this was always planned, Scott. Lenny conducting an interview was weird. Are we sure Emily is okay? Emily's fine. Yeah, I think they just wanted to have Lenny do it because Lenny's been really excited about the comics and all that kind of stuff. Darth says, I was hoping we get a Jeep Hound in Classified. I know we won't. That'd be kind of cool though, wouldn't it? Get like a transforming Hound that turns into a military Jeep at the Classified scale would be crazy. So happy I picked up the Classified Raptor, says Darth. Yes, me too. That is one hell of a figure, by the way. It's one of my faves in the line, but the problem is there's so many. Like, I've got so many favorites in this line, like Xandar's up there weirdly. Like, going back a little bit, Outback, Tiger Force Outback more specifically, but then like Tripwire, the Steel Core, heavy artillery Roadblock, now Heavy Duty, by the way, which I do have in hand. I may show this one off on stream at the end but this Heavy Duty is phenomenal. Absolutely next level. I didn't do an unboxing because I just wanted to get him out. Kitty said. Yes, this is definitely classified raptor, that's for sure. It would be a cool HasLab, a hound, like transforming hound, childish, wouldn't it? I think so. A transforming hound into a military jeep, just his like standard military jeep style, but in the classified scale, would be freaking awesome. So awesome. Um, Still haven't done the vamp in the G.I. Joe X Transformers set, so send in the hound. Indeed, Scott, that is one that I'm surprised wasn't like first. Obviously, they wanted to go with a Megatron hiss, kind of makes sense, sort of. I like how they did it. I thought the Megatron hiss is really good. The Bumblebee Ore Strike, the Ore Strike is great. The Bumblebee aspect of it isn't quite hitting, but the Soundwave Thunder Machine's really good, and the Sarge Triple T as Cup makes is really good as well. So they have been doing some good ones, but you're looking at that going, guys, Hound Vamp, let's get it going, please. But anyway, yeah. So Raptor turns up to effectively tell Baroness and Covergirl that that Major Blood wants to see them, and this was a shot here of Josh showing off his classified Raptor, which he was very proud of, and obviously probably obviously had a lot to do with the design in the comic. Clearly, this is the classified Raptor. Now, Lenny did mention something that I kind of thought was quite interesting. He said that yes, classified designs show up in the comics, but technically the classified series and the Energon universe are different continuities, different narratives, different things going on, which made me kind of go, what a great opportunity to just make the classified series work in the Energon universe and start filtering in that information out. Like I kind of feel like it's a bit of a missed opportunity not having the two in complete sync, really. But I guess one of the things is because Lenny wants a little bit more control over what he's releasing in the classified series, I assume. And in terms of the Skybound, they want to give Skybound a little bit more artistic license to work and operate with the characters and all that kind of stuff. Interesting kind of way of doing it. You'd at least expect, or you'd at least think it would have made sense to have the Energon universe effectively the classified universe. But I don't know. I don't know. What do I know? Not much. So anyway, that is Josh showing off his Raptor figure. And of course, here is Major Blood. This scans over to Major Blood, and they talk about the fact that there's going to be a part in the next issue where he recites a poem that he's written for the Baroness, which I can't wait. They're including poems now off for the Major in the Energon universe, and he mentions there an eye for an eye because the Baroness shot him in the eye. So I'm guessing, there's going to be some sort of retribution that Major Blood wants to kind of dish out here for the Baroness. But we'll have to see, won't we, how that one plays out. I'd like to see them do a classified Night Force, Flint, and Lady J with their Energon universe designs. Childish. I was about to say that next thing. So the next little plot point that they discuss was the Night Force kind of inclusion into the Energon universe. Now, Night Force in this particular sense is a sort of off the books Black Ops, really kind of like you think G.I. Joe is kind of, off the books, like special forces unit sort of thing, super secret, whatever. But no, Night Force is another level below that. So you're thinking underground, you Night Force is going to be your I see Night Force as the X Force of the G.I. Joe team. It's like X Force to X-Men, the Night Force is to G.I. Joe in this narrative and continuity. Of course, back in the day and the Night Force in the toys, it wasn't necessarily like, delved into in a great deal other than what was written on the blurb for the toys and the product catalogs and what have you. But effectively, it wasn't really what they're going to be doing with the Energon universe. They were just kind of like, making cool vehicles, painting them all black and that kind of stuff. But in this particular situation, we've got a real sort of like off the books kind of like Black Ops team. And Flint and Jay pop up in it, of course. Beachhead's also pretty prominent in it, and that gave them a nice little inroad to talk about those figures, which we'll get to in a second as well. I just want to get to some of your comments while we're moving along here. Snowwolf says, so the Void Rivals figures are the only Energon Universe figures. As far as I'm aware, Snowwolf, yes. They're the only, and they're O-ring, aren't they? So yes, they're the only official sort of Energon Universe figures, other than maybe like Transformers you can probably get away with, and technically some classified figures that have appeared in the Energon Universe you could count as well. But yeah, specifically sort of Energon Universe only, it would be Void Rivals that are coming out for SDCC. Yes. I want that Energon Night Force Lady J, says Cal. We'll get to her in a second, and so do I. Darth says Major Blood is an underrated character. I think so. I think so. He does get used, but not in the same way that you'd really expect. For me, he's a major character. Is for Cobra, but he's always kind of like in and out, shake it all about. You do the hope, you know the deal. Stanley says, before the stream ends, are we going over Emily's HasLab tease again? It's got to be a given for next week 4, correct? I would almost assume, yes, Stan, that between now and next week, or even in that next week's whatever we get, is going to be the HasLab is going to be revealed. Absolutely can't, fault you on that one. I think an unboxing of the Rattler at the end of the month as well. So in that next Wednesday slot, I would expect an unboxing of the Rattler, and either during the end of that, or between now and then, we'll see the HasLab reveal, the new one. Scott says Renegade Blood was the most hapless character, supposed to be badass merc, but just keeps losing, and with each loss goes another body part. Yes, Scott. Yeah, it was a fun way, I thought, in Renegades to incorporate his, those losses, like the arm, the eye, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I kind of feel like every time he's used, he's sort of like he does like a cut, like an issue or two, and then he's kicked out. We don't see him again. He's got kind of like a nice impact of character impact. Like he'll come in, it's Blood's back. But yeah, it's he's definitely, I wouldn't say like necessarily underutilized, but when he is utilized, we don't necessarily see his full skill set. I really enjoyed it when, I think it was in like the early image, the early first like return for G.I. Joe, the Devil's Due return, where Duke had a whole issue where he was effectively, it was an issue of him like chasing Blood basically around the globe, and he was in the CIA, or he was in kind of Black Ops as G.I. Joe had been disbanded. I really kind of enjoyed that little storyline with him. I think it's the issue where Duke is kind of like falling out the window, and you just see him from the perspective of like looking out the window and seeing Duke kind of falling. Yeah, that was a fun little kind of very kind of short but sweet sort of Major Blood story. Do you think, Cliff says, do you think that we will see Energon versions of the Dreadnoks in Classified? I don't know, actually, Cliff. Again, we sort of have got them, but I get what you mean. Sort of like more specifically, the ones that we're seeing in like Buzzer, for example, is a great shout, because Buzzer, if you haven't already seen, looks a little bit different based on the last panel of the Free Comic Book Day Energon Universe special. My goodness. I say a little bit, but for those that know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, maybe we do get some sort of like a return to some of the Dreadnoks designs, just to kind of make them a little bit more Energon Universe-y. Jason says Major Blood's character was much better fleshed out in the Battle Action Force comics, and you've got a very good point there, Jason. Speaking of which, shout out to our sponsor, Battle Action Force, the Treasury editions, where you can see, well, actually, you can't see Major Blood's inclusion in that one, can you? No, because it's all the early ones before it switched over to Joe, I think. I'll have to double check that, but I don't think he shows up in the Battle Action Force Treasury editions. I might be wrong on that one, though. Zoran says, I sure do hope Hasbro surprises us all with an undated Rattler landing gear that looks less dorky. I don't know what you're referring to there, Zoran. I think the Rattler looks phenomenal. Landing gear as well. Cal says he did kill General Flag, so that's a pretty big comic event. Yes, he did. But again, in and out, shake it all about. Can't we jam the bat chainsaw into? Well, I'm not going to finish that, Chris G, just in case somebody hasn't seen that Energon Universe special, even though I'm giving out massive spoilers. Sod it. Massive spoilers are happening. If you don't want to hear the next one, then turn off. But yes, can we not just jam the bat chainsaw into Buzzer's hand? Yeah, exactly. Buzzer now looks to have a chainsaw for a right arm because he had a pretty hideous battle with Nemesis Immortal Enforcer in the Cobra miniseries, the Cobra Commander miniseries, completely busted his arm up. And the next time we see him is at the end of this free comic book day with a chainsaw literally wedged into his arm. It's gross. I can't wait to get my Blood figure as I missed the first release. He looks great. I forgot, Cliff. I forgot that they've done another Blood figure. Isn't that hilarious? I completely forgot that existed. If they can release 14 versions of Snake Eyes, they can release version 2s of the Nox. Very true, Scott. Very true. Updated. I get what you're saying, Zoran. I see what you're saying. I think, well, you're certainly the only one that thinks that out of the two of us. And I haven't really, I'm going to have a look at the landing gear now just to see what you're talking about. And I'm probably one of those things where I can't unsee it, whatever you've noticed. In any case, coming back to the comics, Night Force, here we go. So this little panel is really CoverGirl finding a few classified documents about Night Force and basically Hawk saying, you don't have to worry about that, ignore that, and then shreds it all immediately. But anyway, I thought that was a fun little kind of touch. And then of course we've seen Flint and Lady J a couple of times popping up in the issues, right? And effectively they are heading up this kind of Black Ops underground naughty team, Night Force. And that is something I want to see. I want to see Flint and Jay Night Force classified figures because they have both been in Night Force, just as Beachhead has been in Night Force. Lady J did join a little bit later. She popped up in what was it? It was the convention set. It was a modern 4-inch, and I think there was sort of like an homage to a kind of like what would they have been? Was it? There was like a redeco of Lady J in like black with like another kind of deco on it, another deco hit on it. And I think effectively the club were just kind of pushing her into Night Force to homage that figure, basically. And I want to see, that kind of darker green, black baseball cap, Night Force version. It's not crazy different deco-wise to Lady J in any way. But I think this version we're looking at here, where we've got like an undershirt, a vest, secondary, some sort of like, wrist gauntlet kind of situation going on, and then give that like a really kind of like dark green deco with the black cap. And I would love to see Lady J in the Night Force in classified. Please and thank you. Same for Flint. Get Flint in the Night Force. And Flint actually has had I think he was in the same, I want to say he was in the same predicament. He was in the same situation as same group as Beachhead, right? Same release in Night Force as Beachhead, I want to say. But Flint's had like a ton of versions where you could have effectively kind of gone, yeah, that's a Night Force figure. So here's one. This is this was the Toys R Us exclusive Night Force set. Yeah, Beachhead was in this one. So we've got this version of Flint where the kind of, you kind of like with the face paint, that kind of like the camo pants that they gave Beachhead. I'd love to see that one done to match Beachhead then effectively. And then maybe Lady J could get that situation. She could get that kind of vibe as well. There was another one in the what's it called? The new sculpt era. I always forget what eras they're called. Um, but I don't think it was Night Force necessarily. It just came with Blackout. But he had sort of like a darker, he had like a darker kind of deco going on. In any case, Flint has had um, Flint has had a Night Force previous. He's had Night Force previous, so I'd like to see that. And again, you could kind of like look at these guys and utilize them the way that the Energon universe has. But I would definitely 100%, yes, Chris, two pack Shakur them, and get Flint in that kind of beachhead kind of pants deco, and Lady J in her sort of maybe like another version of that would be kind of cool. I'd love it, absolutely love it. Anyway, um, because I love Flint and Jay. They're my Duke and Scarlet or Snake Eyes and Scarlet, depending on what kind of like fan you are with G.I. Joe. You might be a Destro Baroness guy, I don't know. You might be a was it Shipwreck and Cover Girl, or who else do they have kind of couples wise? In any case, oh yeah, you might be an Alpine and Bazooka guy. I don't know. I'm also an Alpine and Bazooka guy, I think. But yeah, I think Flint and Jay, I grew up with them being the kind of like the two main characters for me. Snake Eyes was really cool, but Flint for me, like Flint, Jay, Footloose, Snake Eyes, that was my sort of like early Action Force International Heroes like life. I loved it. Airtight, Barbecue, Mainframe, Dial Tone. Those that's them. That's my love basically. Um, Todd wants a new face sculpt for Jay. Well, that would you'd probably get that if they did another version of her. Any Flint except the higher face sculpt, Cal. I know it's so demoralizing because I wanted both Flint and the Tiger Force Flint from higher, and the head sculpt is just put me off. It was really sad. Get Flint into Beachhead's pants. Jay would not like that, says Scott. But I'm down. I'd like Night Force versions of them, said Real Zim. Plastic Battle says a new Lady J with updated head sculpt seems inevitable. Yeah, absolutely. But again, they talk about the Night Force. Joe, the Joe team, obviously, the Night Force Joe, the Joe Night Force team is headed up by Flint and Jay, and they recruit Beachhead. And we see multiple shots, or saw multiple shots from his issue 7, I think it was, which again is a banging issue, by the way. I might be doing more comics bursts, to be fair, and people are going to be like, I don't care. I just want to see you talk about Classified. And I'll be like, okay, but I'm going to do more comics bursts. I give what the people don't, I give people what they don't want, right? Yeah, that's effectively what I do. I don't follow algorithms. I don't do what, the successful people do. I do what I want to do. And whether that's good, bad, ugly, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, yes, I'll be doing more comics news bursts for sure. But I think, Beachhead, again, this is nice tying it into him joining the Night Force. Now, the whole thing with Beachhead in the issue 7 is that they get him in to do this mission. He thinks it's sort of like an in and out, shake it all about sort of situation. But he ends up kind of coming into contact with Flint and Jay, who help him out of a bit of a predicament. And they're there to basically tell him, do you want to join this team? He's like, I'm out of that stuff. I'm not doing that anymore. This was going to be my last mission sort of thing. And they're like, well, this is slightly different. It's not what you'd expect. And they give him the kind of lowdown of what Night Force is. And he effectively looks like he's accepting. So that's really cool. Eben says, hey, Chris, Lenny says more to come for G.I. Joe, so grab your grape soda. My guess may be Cold Slither news. I think you're right. I was actually expecting it today, and who knows, maybe they have made posts in the time that I've been on, because they do, sometimes RPM do drop some later kind of reveals. I wonder if we'll get some stuff, between now and next week. But yeah, I was expecting, when I saw that the video went up, I was thinking, oh, we're going to get a little bit of information regarding the SDCC comic, the Cold Slither comic. They didn't really talk about it other than very briefly, oh, we'll see you at SDCC sort of thing. So yeah, that was a bit interesting. But yes, I when he said that, Eben, I definitely think he's talking Cold Slither for sure. Paul says higher figs look like they have wooden heads from Geppetto's workshop. They do look a little bit ventriloquist dummy. The Flint one did. Chris G says, title the comics bursts 10 things you didn't know about emerging Energon universe, G.I. Joe. Yes, Chris, I should do that, shouldn't I? Childish says they nailed Beachhead's character in this issue. They did. That's another great point. Issue 7, they really, really do nail Beachhead's character. And it's really good. Like it's like you show that you see the skill set, you see the combative element of him, you see the so you see the kind of stealthy aspect of him, the kind of like laying undercover for like multiple days, maybe even a week, in laying in wait to make his move because the fortifications are too, it's a strong kind of stronghold that he's trying to break into. And it's basically this package that he's been sent in to pick up, and he eventually gets out despite bumping into major bloodhounds. They give him a lot of crap, and he ends up having to fight his way out. And he ends up kind of getting help taking this this crate which he's managed to kind of like find a way to get out of there, courtesy of Flint and Jay. And the crate turns out to be a battle android trooper, which is pretty cool. So he doesn't know what he was actually picking up, but when it opens, he's there to see what it is. And Flint and Jay effectively do that to get him in the Night Force itself, which was kind of fun. Anyway, they talk about Beachhead, and here he is busting open the crate, and obviously what is found in there is the bat. Excuse me. Right then. Chris G says Night Force being the new Men in Black unit will be fun when they discover Cobra La. Yes, totally. Well, that's another thing, isn't it? Lenny's got this great narrative with the Night Force being this sort of like, almost like the quirky elements of Cobra, and the fact that they're, looking at these mysterious, like the mystic and the magic and the weird and the monsters and all that kind of stuff. And this one may go in that direction eventually because Cobra La exists. You've got Nemesis Immortal, you've got Cobra Commander, Globulus, Pythona. This universe has that stuff. It has Transformers. It has weird things going on in Void Rivals. It has aliens, aliens. So, I'm hoping for friggin' lunatics to show up. I want manimals. I want lunatics. I want all sorts of I want bio vipers. I want monstro vipers. I want all that. I want fatal fluffies in this series. Not all at once, but there's plenty of stuff to work with here, isn't there? They should enlist Barbecue into Night Force and make him all black and give us pinless arms. Todd, that'd be dope. Like a Night Force Barbecue. Although technically he wouldn't necessarily be all black because Night Force isn't just an all black figure, is it? Night Force deco is very subtly all sorts of different colors. You've got browns, greens, teal. That's pretty much it. Black is in there, but it's certainly not the main character in Night Force. So I like the thought of them doing something really cool with Barbecue. I think Night Force Blowtorch would be really cool in that green and tan that we've had in the 4-inch, figures. One of Ron Rudat's color studies, effectively. How cool would a tan and green Blowtorch be in the Night Force? I think that'd be so cool. Get him in Night Force. Get Barbecue in Night Force, get all the cool, crazy, characters, and get them like redecoed into cool, interesting Night Force decos. Be well up for it. There's a remarkable amount of tan in. Have you ever seen it? Check out, I think, Dan Klingensmith's Creating G.I. Joe books. I think one of the most recent ones, either 13 or 14. I can't remember which issue. The book, sorry, not issue, but I suppose it is an issue. You know what I mean? He's got in there an unused or like a unreleased image showing concepts for what would have been the Night Force following year back in the day. And you have like Low Light in there. You have, I think, Blocker from Battle Force 2000. You have, what's his name? Rumbler, is it? And there's another one as well. I can't remember who it is now, and the Slugger as well in the background because that was going to be a Night Force vehicle. So you've got all of these cool but they're all like in tan. It's so funny. There's a lot of tan in that deco scheme. I really like the grape soda reference Lenny made. I was hopeful for a Thunder Machine again, says Cal. Night Force being the new Men in Black. I've done that one. Yeah, sorry, Chris. Scott says, well, that tears it. My Night Force is joining forces with Monster Force. How many times can I say Force? Lots of times. Lots of times, Scott. I love that Monster Force stuff from Fresh Monkey Fiction and all that. That's beautiful figures. Really cool. I'm digging them a lot. They're really, really cool. Matt says, hi, Chris. Sorry to hear about the Hasbro layoffs. Quick Kick and Beachhead look great, but Yojoe June has been plagued by mostly poor communication and hardly any name-only digital renders. I have to agree with you on that one, Matt. It's been. I mean, let's face it. It's really about that one fan stream, and I think the fact we didn't get it, I think a lot of people feel a little bit sort of like underserved, shall we say, in that sense. And I agree. You know, pre-orders are cool and everything, but we're here for the extras, the details, some like little sneak peeks here and there. Not sneak peek, but all sneak peek. I'd love to see sneak peek, but you know what I mean. And I get that, and I get there's been a little bit of there's definitely been, yeah, I would have to say there's been a poor communicative aspect to this. Yeah, you think a little bit more information would have helped, just here, there, and everywhere, even like tucked into little fan stream information, like pages and what have you, would have been nice. But yeah, you're right. It's been a little bit, almost dare I say it, a little bit. You get that day, and then almost like it's forgotten, you know, and then you move on to the next week, kind of thing. So yeah, but anyway, I'm not like that fussed at the end of the day because we've got some cool pre-orders. We have had reveals this month, but yeah, and maybe we'll see more. I think there's an element here of being a little bit more, definitely being patient with it. I think we're going to have another thing next week. We've got the HasLab to come. I think there's lots to be excited about with this line, but it would be nice every now and again to just get a little bit of direct communication out there to fans for what is very clearly obvious things as well, like very clear and obvious things that need addressing. Backstop, says Paul. I'd love a backstop. E-worthy Skybound comic series is great, but that's not for everyone that collects classified. Very big letdown today. Well, true, E-worthy, but yeah, again, like I think we've, it's one of those things. It's Yojoe June. It covers all sorts of different things. It's not always just going to be classified each time. And technically, there's classified within this, and they did. There was a little kind of classified a nod in there for sure. I'm thinking back to February when they pushed the stream back an entire month, says Cal. Yeah. It almost seems like they're putting more attention to SDCC, says Snowwolf, possibly. Childish says not getting to hear them talk about Sarge Mercer and the Ore Striker is extremely disappointing. Hopefully they make up for that either at SDCC or maybe an interview that we can do with them. That would be great, wouldn't it? Paul says just feels like Joe has been a bit of an afterthought too much lately. I do get that. I've got to admit I have felt that way about some of the rollout of things for sure. Blitz says, commend you for staying positive. Not all of us have the strength to keep smiling through all of this. Well, the other thing is, I mean, we've had like how many pre-orders already? Like there's plenty of stuff coming through. We've got stuff like being delivered. I'm looking at heavy duty right now. Like there's stuff, there's definitely things to enjoy. I'm not like too, disheartened about it all, but hey, hell, maybe after Yojoe June, I can get an interview tucked in there and it could cover lots of stuff that's happened over the past, that we've got questions about. They should at least give us a couple random renders. I think so. 1134 comics. Yeah, I do think, I'm surprised if they did plan to do some render reveals during that fan stream, why not post them between now and, or on the day? If they were going to do the pre-orders, maybe they didn't plan on doing some render reveals, but I don't see that. I don't for a second see them doing a fan stream and not at least do one name only, or at least one render. Um, Paul says, just saw an in-hand image of snake armor on a classified UK page. Looks awesome. It's so sad, isn't it, that UK getting it first, and I don't live in the UK anymore. How about Rattler shipping? Pulse got my hopes up again, then went dark. No, they're shipping. They were just getting the addresses ready. It same thing happens every single time. They put out a all points bulletin to get your addresses updated. You get your addresses updated, and then after that they ship. So they'll be coming soon, Chris. Don't you worry. Just got to be more patient on this thing, man. That's coming earlier than it came last year. Darth says looks like the snake armor got pushed back to September in the US, while in the UK it's shipping out. I did see that actually. That was weird. Don't know why. No clue. Yeah, Snake Armor said July 1st last week and now says September 1st again. Weird. Don't know why. Have no clue. But yeah, it's I remember there was a time period where the UK would get stuff way in advance. UK were getting it, some of Europe were getting it, then Canada started getting everything. And then it started to kind of like level out a little bit. The US is always a little bit last when it comes to the distribution of the product. And I guess proximity to factories, isn't it? At the end of the day, watched a review of someone that got the snake armor, and oh boy, that thing is a monster. I can't wait, E-worthy. I cannot wait to get into that. Anyway, we did also get this lovely render of Beachhead and Quick Kick. Now we've seen these figures in way more detail, but the render obviously gives us a nice idea of what exactly is incorporated with this set. Lots of accessories. I mean, this is a packed out set, isn't it? Loads of accessories. We've got Quick Kick in his new togs and shoes, of course. Lots of different head sculpts for him too. We've got that kind of really cool, like he stole that mask off a Blue Ninja sort of vibe. I think it was a Blue Ninja, wasn't it? And then the kind of two different heads he's got. One of them inspired very much, it looks like, by Billy from Predator. His whole vibe looks like Billy from Predator, honestly, and I'm here for it. It's not the first time that Quick Kick is. Oh, no, actually, it wasn't Quick Kick. Was it Spirit? Was it Spirit? Who was it that had the Billy sort of vibe in the 4-inch modern? It was Spirit, wasn't it? So Spirit's had the Billy makeover, and now Quick Kick is having the Billy makeover. Kitty said. I would also say that Quick Kick had the Bruce Lee makeover in that same era that Spirit got the Billy makeover. Is everyone following me right now? Probably not. I've done that one. Sorry, E-worthy. Big Sean says Monster Toys and Games has an unboxing for the snake. I'll have to check that out. Darth says how ironic. I can't remember what that was about. Was it about the Billy situation? Childish says it was Spirit, Recondo, and Duke in the Predator get-ups. Yeah, it was. Yeah, Spirit got Billy, Recondo got Blaine, and Duke got Dutch, basically, didn't he? I always thought Quick Kick was like MCU Drax, oversensitive nipples, prevented shirts. Amazing, Scott. That's exactly why. Anyway, freaking amazing gear on these lads, and I love the fact that Beachhead gets that redeco. I'm here for that. I'm here for that all day long. CJ Chad John Campo says, I hope there is a G.I. Joe Nightfall series. Half the team is already badass. Can't wait to see the rest of them. They might as well give life to Shooter in this universe since she is dead in the other one. That's a great point. I'm hoping for Tunnel Rat or Low Light. Seeing Skybound is creating their own version, I don't see why we can't have Low Light. Jay was... She was with Night Force. Yeah, she's been in Night Force since the club put her in Night Force back in 20, whenever it was. But she was an exclusive Night Force figure. If I see the low light on this team, I will insist they get their own series. Yeah, big time. I feel like Beachhead got the shaft in this 2-pack. How do you mean, Chris? In terms of weapons? He's got a decent amount. He's got the backpack, he's got the crossbow, he's got the satchel, 2 knives, 2 gas grenades, pistol and silencer, rifle, submachine gun. I'm guessing Quick Kick gets one of those rifles and all of the swords and the kind of ninja weapons and the hands and the neckerchief and the backpack. But they both get backpacks, by the way. I'm already happy about that. And of course, his ninja star thing, I guess, because he's got multiple heads. Beachhead, it would have been nice if they'd done one head sculpt for Quick Kick, one extra for Quick Kick and one extra for Beachhead, and have an unmasked one. That'd have been kind of fun. Ironic that the US gets a Real American Hero stuff last. Well, yeah, it's not a Real American Hero though at the moment, is it? It's Jojo Classified series, but it is ironic. It is ironic. Diana says Quick Kick should have come with a dark chocolate frozen fudgy bar. That's genius. You should be on the team, Diana. Did we already go over the death of R&R? We did not, Darth, but yes, for any more spoilers that I've been giving out, yes, Rock and Roll did perish in like issue, was it 4 or 5? It was early on. Yeah. Anyway, he did get mismatched clothes, Blitz. Yes, Beachhead does get mismatched clothes. I'm really excited for it. The figures in hand look wonderful, and I love me some Night Force. I also love me some putting sub teams together in collections, and the Night Force is looking pretty solid at the moment, and these two are just going to add to it as well. And we've got a listing for another 2-pack from Walmart, so probably another Night Force scenario as well. Was it issue 1? Oh, it was issue 1 of G.I. Joe, but he was in the miniseries for Duke, wasn't he? And he was in all the other issues prior to G.I. Joe 1, and then yeah, in G.I. Joe 1 he got atomized by some lasers. Checkpoint says, love this Quick Kick. Yeah, me too. It's a cool version of a really cool character. Okay, nice. There you go. That is that. The other bit of news that popped up today was that we are getting some stateside. Speaking of stuff that's come in to port, stateside port arrivals for Sewer Urchin, which is Snake Eyes with a polar bear, and Chief Wiggum, which is Snake Eyes version 4. So those have hit port in the US. So expect to see these in about, was it like 2 or 3 weeks time, usually following its landing in port. You usually have about, give it like a couple of days for customs. Then it has to be transported and distributed first. Then it gets in those distribution points. So that's probably about a week or so, maybe 2. And then it starts getting sent out. So you're probably looking about 3 or 4 weeks, maybe 3 weeks before we start seeing these. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too optimistic there. But they have been churning these things out recently. And the fact that Heavy Duty, I was just saying that he'd arrived in port not too long ago, and then boom, he's shipping. That was quite good. What was the other one? The stateside arrivals, Target Breaker and the Firefighter. So I think we can basically go back and see when they start shipping. We can see how long it's been since that stateside arrival, and we can kind of apply the same time frame to this one. All this June goodness and still no classified lifeline. Indeed, Stygian. If they won't give us a hooded CC, they should at least do one with a cape and swords. Call him IGCC maybe. And that's kind of cool, Darth. But yeah, I personally think hooded CC, there was a mandate early on that they weren't going to touch that figure with a 20-foot barge pole. And that mandate was pretty much across the board for anyone that utilized the license, what have you. Excuse me. That's why we get that sort of like switch up Cobra Commander in the Jada toys. So we had like a hooded one that then got switched out for battle mask one. So I think there was a Jada toys hooded Cobra Commander, but that was like one of the last things we got for that. And I believe the other licensed situation that it shows up on is the cover of Total Action Force Volume 2. And again, that one slipped through the cracks as well. But yeah, there was a mandate early on. I remember Brian Flynn talking about it at Super 7, saying that there was a specified no kind of go on that one, no Joe on that one. I don't think that's necessarily the case anymore. I think you'll probably at some point eventually we'll probably get a hooded Cobra Commander. E-Worthy says, very excited. Amazon is delivering Darklon, Frag Viper, and Blowtorch to me tomorrow. Yeah, I've noticed that they are showing up on the old delivery systems. Cliff says, do you think that Monkey Wrench and Blood will come early? Kitty said. Don't know, Cliff. But they're in that wave with Snake Eyes version 4. So I'm sure we'll get Cobra Commander, Snake Eyes, Monkey Wrench, and Blood eventually. They'll get there soon. Scott says Flint and Covergirl. Oh yes, Flint and Covergirl have also arrived at port in recent time, so we can use those as well. We'll see if there's a pattern. We'll see if there's a rough kind of time frame pattern based on when I posted those particular stateside port arrivals and when they deliver. That's a great way of working it out, isn't it? Dial Tone is finally shipping, I've heard as well, GL, yes. And Darth got his heavy duty as well today. I got mine yesterday and couldn't wait and just bust him open, and he's amazing. Honestly, this figure is insane. Maybe we can have a quick chat about that in the main window in a second. You'd think they would release Snowjob again to pair with the HasLab, says Todd. Possibly. Hoping for a retro Snowjob, says Blitz. Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Anyway, okay. So that is all the news, I think, pretty much. Now, leak listings, do we bother going through this? Nothing's really changed. We haven't got any kind of new information to update, which is a shame. I'm desperate to do some more name-only reveals and hopefully unlock some more stuff on here. But nothing as yet. Hopefully between now and next week, or even next week, we'll get a little bit more meat on the old bones. Gross. But technically there was a render reveal today. It's just something we've already seen in action figure form. But there is Nightforce Beachhead and Quick Kick on the listing on the right hand side there. GG Lexington 2-pack. So Walmart will, whatever their collector con happens next, I guess, is when we'll get those. Because are we in the midst of it at the moment? No, that's Target. We're in the midst of Target Full Geek Out, aren't we? So yeah, there'll be whatever the Walmart thing is next, I would imagine. Okay. Excuse me. 2026 is pretty much the same as well. No changes there. Still got to find out when what that Steel Core Sentry with Defense Post, if there is a listing for it, if it's on 2025's listings, if it's on here, we're gonna have to find out. I know it's not any of the ones we're looking at right now, but it could be a new listing for 2026, and we'll have to hopefully do some more digging to find out. Now, name only reveals haven't changed. Steel Core Sentry with Defense Post, Taurus Red Dog, and Desert Scorpion with Scorpion for Cobra. So that's all we've got for official name only reveals. No updates, unfortunately. After today's, I was hoping there'd be a little bit more, hoping there'd be a little like a name only, well, just one, or another digital render that we haven't seen yet would have been cool. But no, we do have to update the digital renders. So the Legacy Police Officer is still in limbo. Don't know what's happening with that. And Nightforce Beachhead and Quick Kick have been added now to the render page. And SDCC Cold Slither is the only one remaining for Cobra. Looking a little bit quiet, isn't it, in the digital renders department? Anyway, I am going to switch back to main screen to talk heavy duty for the last part of this episode. But before I do that, let's hear from our sponsor, Battle Action Force, the Treasury editions. Yo, so that is Battle Action Force, the Treasury editions. If you want to get in on that good stuff and you're in the US, you can go to skeletron.com. And if you're in the UK and Europe, you can get them, you can order them at totaltoybooks.com. Okay, so yes, like I said, I got heavy duty recently. There's a couple of comments popped through that I'm just going to quickly jump on. CollectorCon is usually around SDCC. Thank you, Scott. Christopher says it's so ridiculous. Cobra Commander hood isn't even pointy and it's blue. Give me a break. I think we'll probably see one, don't you worry. Dart says, have we seen the interior of the packaging of Cold Slither? Yes, we have. If you go to any of the coverage of Toy Fair, Emily opened the whole thing up and we saw inside. So you can see videos of that. There's a video of it, a clip of it in a video I did when I interviewed Lenny on the floor at Toy Fair. That video you can find on our YouTube channel, and we posted images at the time as well, and I believe there are images of the interior of it as well. Andrew says, still waiting on heavy duty from BBTS. Shaking my head. Yeah, I'm very happy that I managed to get mine, and he popped in the other day. Here he is. Now, I was a little concerned, I must admit, about the missiles, because from looking at the images on, the profile, the kind of the promo images, the missiles looked a little bit shaky, and when, like, obviously the blast effects go in there real tight. But when I put the first missile in, it's actually had some connection to it. I was like, what? That's crazy. So I was quite happy that there was a little bit of friction for the missiles, because I just expected them to be falling out left, right, and center. So that hasn't been happening. The actual, like, the mech suit is like next level. There's so many details. I've actually got his his bandolier. I've like looped that on the back because you can't really wear it when you've got the mech suit on. But this thing is nuts, absolutely nuts. It's one belt which kind of feeds through the main section of the backpack and then kind of tucks into those little machine guns on the top. So awesome. You've got these huge commando style like rocket launchers as well, which kind of come off, like loads of lovely details on the back here. Man portable heavy weapons system. Yeah, maybe for you, heavy duty. I ain't lifting that. But look at those cool little details. Love it. So the missiles are heavy duty, you'd say. Yes, Prophet, indeed. It's just really cool. It's a great figure, and the balance is impressive because I just popped him on the deck and he stood up, and I'm surprised because that thing looks ridiculous. But how good is this, man? Just so awesome. I'm not going to break him, like take bits apart, because it took me ages, buckarooing him into this section kind of fashion. But how good is the Chicago Bull necklace? I'm calling it Chicago Bull necklace because he's from Chicago, and I wonder if that bull on the necklace is a little nod to that. And I'm just going to say it is. Anyway, got him and the heavy machine gun crew at the moment on my desk. Retro rock and roll and heavy duty, and it is a bit of an upgrade. Sorry, rock and roll, but heavy duty is probably outgunning you a little bit there. He also comes with two knives, which I'm like, yeah, okay, fair enough. One on the old ankle there, and one on the waist, which you can't see. Well, you can see there. Like, there it is, poking out. Boop. Anyway, it's brilliant. I'm well into this thing, and it reminds me so much of Jake Rockwell from Centurions. It's not even funny. Not even funny. Yes, and the actual audio on the back is 100% invention number 2 in D minor, which is also written on the rocket launcher as well. So that is a nod at his classical music, love for classical music, which is hilarious. Also, his hat's amazing, by the way. I've got loads of stuff on it at the moment, but the shred head detail is amazing. And then there's this orange color under you can just about see it there. It's like a green peak that's folded up, but underneath is orange. I love it. It's such a Saved by the Bell hat. It's not even funny. Anyway, love it. What am I saying? Almost missed the belt on the inside of the plastic insert. Oh yeah, true. It's kind of like tucked in there inside, isn't it? The bullet ammo belt. Invention in D minor makes me giggle, says Scott. Of course it does. I've had my heavy duty for weeks in Canada, and he makes me chuckle every time I see him. The size of that gear is so ridiculous. I love it, says Studio Henge. Chris needs a new hat. Hang on. I know technically this doesn't really count, but I could wear that one. I could wear that one, or yeah, I need that shred head one, don't I? I need to make that happen. Anyway, this is what I think should be happening. I think Hasbro should be creating merch based on some of these classified things that are very specific to classified. I definitely think that needs to happen. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me for this comics burst, news burst, I should say. I will be back hopefully between now and next week. Of course, I'm sure there'll be news to talk about, either with a little news burst extra or a live here or there, depending on what actually happens. But you know what the deal is. If it happens and it's significant, I'll be all over it. And if it's not significant, if it's insignificant, I'll do a 3-hour live stream about it. Anyway, hope you guys are enjoying Yojoe June still, even though we've still got a dark cloud hanging over us, haven't we, from the last from the last fan stream that got cancelled. I think people are still hurting regarding that one. In any case, I'll be back. So stay fresh, cheese bags, and as always, after 3, you know what to do. 1, 2, 3, full force. Laters. That's it for this instalment of the Full Force Comics News Burst. Proudly brought to you by Battle Action Force, the Treasury editions. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe. See you next time, and as always, Full Force. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. And as always, you can keep up with the show after listening by following on all of our social platforms, links in the description. And if you would like to contact the show, you can message us on any of those platforms with feedback or questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/The Full Force Podcast, or click the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.